more. Okay, just making sure. Joe, I'm gonna tell you now. I'm gonna slaughter your last name, so I'm gonna let you say your last name.
Yeah, no worries. So it's Joe Miscioscia. It's very long and Italian, so I get a lot of interesting ones there. So no worries. But yeah, no. So I appreciate you having me on, and a little background for those of you who I haven't spoken with before. So Maxine and I work at X4 Technology. It's actually a recruitment agency based in New York. So we're based in Brooklyn. We actually got Manhattan behind us, if you can kind of see with the glare from the windows, but super cool office. And so both of us specialize in blockchain. And really what that means is we work with candidates, like yourself, and basically it's, people that are either moving from a job to job, they're moving from college or, a boot camp or whatever, they want to get into a new opportunity, whatever they want to do and kind of go from there. There's a lot that goes into that. People come from very different backgrounds from the candidates we worked with. You get people that come from Ivy League schools. You get people that, no college and went a certificate route, and really they end up at the same place. Our job is really cool where, unlike I think most of you, I'm not as much of a hands-on technical person. I don't, do the coding or stuff myself. It's my skill set is more in connecting the right people to the right position. I think Brett really made a good point where, depending on the organization, culture fit matters. And what that means is a bunch of different things, right? So with COVID, some people are like, hey, I want to work remote. I don't want to go into the office. We work with candidates that are like, hey, I want to, work from my house. I want to stay in New York or in Wyoming or wherever they're located and work for a global brand. And it's really cool to be able to, give these people those types of opportunities where kind of anything's a possibility. It's really what you want to do, and let's go from there. Essentially, in terms of skill sets, it is different. Sometimes for more entry level positions, depending on some of the companies we work with, they'll want someone with a super particular set of skills. So with blockchain, there's the best way to put it is different ecosystems. If for those of you that might not be as familiar. So the big ones you think of crypto, it's Ethereum, Bitcoin. Solana's been taking off as well, and each of those different ecosystems has a different tech stack essentially. So employees start up at this company that's kind of within this Bitcoin ecosystem or Ethereum ecosystem. The type of candidate or the type of employee there usually has a familiarity with a certain kind of set tech stack there. But it's also something where you see the big boom in crypto and with blockchain and DeFi technology. In the industries I've worked, it's ironically been DevOps. I've done a bit of quality assurance work as well, some security as well. It's something where blockchain is a super kind of cool opportunity where, since it is such a new evolving market, the chance of a company taking an opportunity on someone that has the right attitude, that really wants this type of position, might not necessarily have the full tech stack in their back pocket yet. But it's someone, okay, maybe we'll take a chance on this person. It's really cool to kind of see those opportunities happen and, kind of get to work on it every day. If there's anything you can kind of add on that as well. But
yeah, so we work in a variety of ecosystems, and I think one key, really awesome part about blockchain technology and the work that we get to do is that, blockchain is an incredibly broad topic. So there are about 1 billion different ideas that people are coming up with and using blockchain development for it. Some examples are the metaverse, NFT gaming mechanisms, NFT companies as a whole. I spoke with a really interesting candidate the other day who is using blockchain technology to manage court documents. There's blockchain technology for a whole variety of things. Music is a really big one and very up and coming. So, I think one thing that's really interesting about the industry as a whole is that it's not too difficult to find a very niche topic that you're particularly interested in and exploring that as a next step.
yeah, no, I mean, very well put. And I was reading the comments. I think TC was kind of asked a quick question there, and really to follow up on that, is blockchain something that can be integrated with other technologies? And maybe 2-3 years ago, people would have said no, and I think today people would say absolutely yes. It's something where, again, as an external agency, some of the companies we get to work with are these big hedge funds where they have nothing to do with crypto. It's just, stockbrokers and, time just, trading all day. And they're adopting this blockchain protocol and these DeFi technologies to really kind of change what that industry looks like. And I think the opportunity to, really bring in this new technology and see, we haven't even really realized its full potential and what it can really mean for different industries as a whole. You're seeing it pop up again, financial services, crypto, gaming with some of the NFT stuff that's going on. I'm sure, everyone's seen that pop up. You see it, insurance, healthcare, and it's really just a way to store information, and it's being integrated everywhere. You think of stuff like DevOps, and it's still essential to have a DevOps team. It's still essential to have that quality assurance team. It's essential to have these front end, back end, full stack designers, whatever it is, and it's kind of used together. And this is now a new technology that they're bringing in going forward. So it's a bunch of opportunity there and what that looks like. And I think from a candidate's perspective and for young people or people looking to change industries, it is very appealing where it's something that you can have a very different idea of what you want your career to look like and still use that type of technology, right? So it's, you can go into just about any industry or area and kind of make it work. And a lot of the skills that you are learning will go hand in hand with, you think of like AWS and Terraform and Kubernetes and Docker. So some of those more, cloud skills that you see in DevOps or some of the JavaScript, C++ that you'd see typically with just normal software engineers, and it's being integrated into more of this kind of blockchain environment as well. So I guess that's really the best way I can put it, but a lot of opportunity for growth there as well.
Right. And so one of the things I wanted to also keep, bring home too is when we're talking about blockchain, and this is something that I had to go research because somebody had asked me. It was founded at the same time as Linux was in 1991. So here we are in 2021 talking about, we've been talking about blockchain for a very long time, but not as prevalent. Is like, hey, we need you to have these skills in Rust or these skills over here in this for this particular coin or what have you. We just it's fairly new, I guess. What past, but 3-4 years, give or take,
Yeah.
is what we've been seeing. I know, you
Yeah.
tell
No.
me.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. It's something where really when crypto kind of popped up like 5, 6 years ago with Bitcoin, it kind of gave way to this new technology. And part of that goes to the credit of what Bitcoin and crypto is as a finance and how that kind of gets away from traditional financial institutions and what that looks like for the future. But I think it also really helps shed light on this new kind of super innovative technology that, as Tamika correctly pointed out, had been kind of stashed away for years because there wasn't a real use for it. And I think crypto coming along and really highlighting a need for it in some type of area allowed other people, creatives like a bunch of you, to say, hey, what if I use this technology for this? And I think, not just in blockchain, but in technology as a whole, it creates a lot of opportunity where, you get really smart people that know how to do this coding, or they know how to work with this software or program. There's a lot of creativity that comes with it. A lot of the people we work with, they're working a 9 to 5, or they're working their remote job. That's where their main salary comes in. But on the side, they're building an NFT project, or they're doing open source coding here or there, and just having fun with it in general. And I think originally, again, I'm on more of the talent acquisition HR side of things, but that is kind of what drew me to technology and seeing that creativeness in it and having that kind of free range to really allow it to be whatever you want it to be and be able to kind of make the most of it, if that makes sense. So, but
All right. So let's get down to the knit and grit, Joe. You posted a job. Kayla put it in bit. Let's talk about it. All right. So you posted a job. And let me see if I can pull up the job real quick. But anyway, it was posted and everybody started talking about it. Well, a few people talked about it, not everybody. Let me say that. And the job stated it was paying anywhere from 700,000 to $1 million.
yeah, no, and again, like, it sounds
Joe,
crazy to think of, because it's like, wow, $1 million, like, what would I do with that? And you see that in technology. It's one of those fields where you see ridiculously high pay rates. And again, I think the craziest part of it, kind of overlooking that for a second, is when you talk to some of these people that are getting those kind of jobs, it's almost like the money is, in hindsight, like they're like, okay, I'm gonna get paid $1 million, but like, what does my team look like? Like, what is the project? And even though you have this giant salary, they're very like, when you get these very high level engineers and people that are get offered those type of salaries, it's usually someone who the money is almost an afterthought. It's they really care about what they're doing and the technology and what that product or what they're going to be working on almost more than the salary. But it is something where you see junior level positions, junior DevOps engineers, junior blockchain engineers, where around 6 figures marks, give or take. And then kind of work your way up. Can't speak. Some more of those mid-level, more seniority level positions, 200-300 range. And then you see some of these that are crazy, 7 figures plus when you look at equity packages. So it's super cool to see, and it's also cool to see like how do they get there. And I think a lot of people think, and myself included, before I started kind of doing this type of work, is you got to go to Harvard, you got to go to MIT, you got to do this or that, and it's not the case, right? So you can have someone no college or community college, whatever it is, that worked in a restaurant for 5 years, and then one day they're like, hey, I'm going to start doing coding, I'm going to get certification here, here, here. They do that for 4 or 5 years, work as a software engineer, work their way up. 7, 8 years later, they're now head of engineering at a place and making crazy 6, 7 figure salaries, and it's really cool to see, and it's really like how much does that person want to improve their skills, and how much time you have to take these boot camps and classes and really improve upon that.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not quite sure if everyone kind of knows how it would work, using an external recruiter, but, just to kind of give you a sense of, tangible jobs that we currently have that we can, potentially connect people with. Between us, we have quite a few jobs. To be completely transparent with you. It's a very candidate-driven industry. So there are a lot more jobs than there are people who can work them, which is a very good position to be in. And in my opinion, it is a great time to join the industry while there are basically no people who know how to do the technology, right? And so, to give kind of an answer to tangible stuff we can help with, there is that job that we have, and it certainly is a uniquely high-paying job, but that's certainly a very senior level position. Now, what I will say is that we also have positions that are more junior level, more mid level, junior to senior. We have all of those options. I can candidly tell you that the lowest salary that I've been told for a more junior level position was 120. So, I'm working on a few positions right now that are, for example, total package would look something like 300K for a mid to junior level person. So, it's obviously like and the caveat is that it's of course a very specific skill set. So I guess one thing that could be helpful, and I know Tamika, you mentioned this earlier, but a few key languages that a lot of these companies are looking for. If it's in the Solana ecosystem, which is my personal kind of specialty, Rust is a huge one. Everyone wants a Rust developer. No one can find a Rust developer.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I talk about it every week. I talk about it every week.
Yeah.
Because I work on the AI machine learning side, and so Rust, it's like everybody is like, "Yo, did you study up on Rust? What are we doing today with Rust?" It's super huge, and so any
Yeah.
job that's even on the quantum side as well too, because again, quantum, is
Yeah.
we're talking about people deploying applications and so forth onto a quantum cluster, and what does that look like, how are we doing that, and so Rust becomes a very big integral part of that conversation. So I've been saying Rust. The other part, if you want to stay DevSecOps and do observability, you go on the Go side, but Rust is what I see a lot of when we're talking about what's emerging and what's coming.
Yeah, if you're interested in, like, for example, the Solana ecosystem, definitely recommend brushing up on your Rust. Definitely recommend exploring building smart contracts, because it's all about that, and, it's a huge leg up. And, certainly C++ is a big language within Solana, so that's just one example. And then when you look more towards Ethereum ecosystems, you have more so Solidity, which is a little bit older and more people know it. And, a lot of other languages they end up wanting, those companies end up wanting is, traditional JavaScript, Python, Golang is in there. And then for front end stuff, I frequently have jobs, we frequently have jobs that are React, Web3. I think that those are the key ones. So yeah, and I think a really key point about this is that as we were talking about, there are very few people out there who have been doing this for a long time. So all of a sudden, the traditional rules of like progression are thrown out the window. For example, right now I'm hiring for a job that is, they're looking for a Rust developer, smart contracts person, and the hiring manager, the person who's in charge of them, the lead blockchain engineer, has been doing blockchain for 9 months, and he did not graduate with a bachelor's of science. I think he did marketing in his undergraduate, and all of his blockchain experience was after graduation. He's been doing it for 9 months, and now he's the lead engineer. That's obviously a very exceptional situation, but it's not unknown. That's the thing. Like, I'm very frequently working with people who are a team of 24-year-olds who are CEOs. And it's because it's so new, right? It's because it's really run by young people. There's a lot of opportunity, and, I mean, Joe, you have Joe's information. Like,
Yeah.
certainly reach out.
No, and I think this is good stuff, and I'm reading the questions, and I'm like trying to listen and read, but I think Dion's talked about, I've worked on NFT projects, and I think the industry as a whole is one where there is a lot of opportunity for young engineers and young developers to get really high-paying jobs and really good positions. Not that the money is everything, but also jobs that they really like, where the team fit is really cool. They like whether it's someone that wants to go into the office, they want to stay at home, whatever that fit is that is appealing to you. The opportunity is kind of there, and that's what we're seeing. But again, the point is, Dion, working on these NFT projects, us as recruiters, right? Everyone has a job on their resume. So it's, you have 5-6 years of experience here, here, and here. When you have stuff like, okay, I've worked on this side project, I've got this certification here, I've done this boot camp, this training. It can be even stuff like, being in a group like this, where it's, I was affiliated with, more of a nonprofit group or a charity group or an organization where we get a picture of that person as not just a piece of paper, but as an individual. And I think a lot of the companies we work with, care about that. And you think, some of these companies, work with Microsofts or Googles of the world. The company is huge, right? But the team you're on is small. So it's, you might see, okay, it's Google. They got, hundreds and hundreds of employees. But when you get to like down to it, it's, you might work on a team of 10, 15 people. You might work on a team of 40 people, but you're, closely working with 5 or 6 every day. And that fit of, what is that workplace relationship like? How do you, send information to each other? What does that, entail every day? It matters a lot. So I think there's a lot of avenues to get where you want. And, not to spend too much time on that, but, to address one of these other questions as well. So Lynn had kind of brought up a good point where as we start moving past COVID and into, borders are starting to open up, businesses are opening up, kind of getting past the pandemic, if someone would like to work remote. So Lynn had said, if I want to go work for a company in London, what does that look like with a visa or citizenship status there? And it's something, to be completely honest, it's case by case. So different companies will do it differently. Some will be like, okay, hey, we really need you to already have a green card figured out or citizenship status figured out. Some companies, in the US in particular, will sponsor someone on an H-1B visa, which basically is, they're not a citizen, they're not a green card holder, but they're here to, come get a job and be employed. So it's something that can definitely be done. It just depends on finding the organization that will take on that type of candidate or new employee.
One thing I will say, and this is another unique quirk to the blockchain industry, at least in my experience, I would say about 40% of the roles that we currently have require some degree of geographical expectation. So there's only a handful of roles that say you need to be in New York or you need to be in XYZ, right? And a good majority are global remote companies who are completely decentralized. I am frequently on calls with people in Singapore and Thailand because they'll hire anyone in any country. Now, the caveat with that is that, if there is the goal for relocating to a different country, that company is probably not going to be the way to go because they don't need to, right? Like they can have someone work from anywhere. But if you want to stay where you are and you want to work in a company that is anywhere in the world, those opportunities are out there. And quite frankly, they will take the right person, even if they are in a 12-hour different time zone. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, and we kind of get the benefit of working externally. So it's something where when we work with candidates, we get to really see what your needs are as an individual and what your interest is. So it's something where everyone has a different expectation of what they want their work to look like, what their earnings are going to look like, where they want to live, where they want to end up in 10 years. And it's something where we do our best to make sure that we kind of utilize the connections we have with the industry as a whole to find an opportunity that makes sense for that individual, and really kind of put you in the right place to make the best of it. I got Polkadot and big crypto fans in the chat today. Let me scroll all the way down. Working with Chainlink APIs. So Des was talking about how important is it to work with APIs or GraphQL. I know someone else brought up, what type of skills should someone have on their portfolio to move into more of a Rust position? And to be honest, I could tell you a bunch of different answers, and I don't think there's one correct way to go about it. I think it's finding what works for you and really what your interest is. That being said, the technical skills are definitely important to really, be qualified for these positions, but it's something where, if your interest is in crypto or it's, in healthcare or whatever, how are you utilizing the technologies and you've learned to, take care of what that interest is and to work in that market and to, push in that type of direction. And your resume can, kind of look however, as long as they see that, you have the job experience, you're taking the initiative to do some stuff. And again, I think Brett earlier really made a great point where you get the benefit of the doubt if you're a little less qualified. If you're someone that, just from a conversation, they can tell that, okay, you're super eager to learn, you're very excited about this job. And a lot of hiring managers want that type of employee, someone that, it's not only a paycheck, but it's something where they really like what they're doing and they really believe in the company or organization or what have you, where they can come in and be a real asset to that team as well.
Oh, you can't even hear me. So quick question on that. In terms of the not the job interview, but yeah, the job interview process, is it, hey, check out the portfolio and then do a whiteboard session, or is it and I'm speaking technical, or is it more or less like, hey, let me see what you have done and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, no, I think, jumping in a second, I think it looks a little bit different depending on the company. Typically what you get is someone's interested in a position, they submit a resume. So someone like myself or Maxine will usually hop on a call, and really it's a chance to address, is this a good fit, is usually that first conversation. So it's to see like, hey, I've seen you've done this on the resume. Can you talk a little bit more on that? And basically what that opportunity is to say, hey, did you just copy and paste this skill set on your resume, or, do you know what's on this piece of paper? I think that second stage of interview is more moving into, depending on the company, it's more of a cultural fit. So is this individual going to be a good member of our team? Someone that's going to work well with the rest of the team we're assembling, someone that makes sense for the future of this position and this company, who's really going to grow with the organization as they move forward. From there, you get more of the technical assessments. There's usually an interview where it's either in person or it's a take-home test, 45 minutes, an hour. Higher level positions can sometimes be longer, where it's, let's test your technical knowledge for this position. So, if you're working in, whatever ecosystem it is, they're going to quiz you on that tech stack. Might be a few kind of trick questions in there as well. If you pass that, you're in a good spot. That the third interview will be kind of an overall, cultural fit. Is this a little bit more on the technical side of things? The company's starting to think in terms of, salary, what are we going to pay this person? If you're in that late stage of interview, you're already in a good place. And it's just kind of a general mix-up. But again, every company there is a bit different. It really just depends on kind of how they do their process.
Yeah, it certainly depends. I think is a really key part. But for the vast majority of the roles that at least we are currently working on, this is certainly not our role, there is definitely a technical component. And it comes in different forms. Like sometimes it's a take-home test, sometimes it's a kind of an in-person code review. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
No, I
I
was
was going to ask the question, but you was go ahead.
Yeah, no, and from our point of view, because I know someone earlier said, what if I don't have a very strong technical skill set, or there are roles that are less, tech focused essentially, and it's like there are. It might not necessarily be in blockchain. It might be in, more of a quality assurance. You're working with programs, this or that, and it's something where there's an opportunity out there for anyone. It's just really figuring out what your skill set, can be used for, and what you want to do as well. It's something I'll speak to Tamika too. I think. Our company, we've actually recently implemented more of a diversity inclusion charity committee, do a bunch of different events, corporate events in the office and externally as well. We've been kind of running it by, so don't hold me to this, but maybe doing like a resume workshop or something. So, for those of you that do have a particular kind of market or job you would like to kind of target for the future, whether it's LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. I can definitely help take a look and kind of guide you in the right direction there as well.
And I think you got a question from Lynn, and she said, I see a few outside IR35 positions. Is it a good idea to look at setting yourself up as self-employed if you're interested in working outside the U.S.?
Yeah, no, and again, it depends on the company. When you start thinking of, my experience is we are primarily working in the U.S. market. That being said, with blockchain, it's like global at this point. But in the U.S., you do have individuals that basically LLC, which is similar. So they're basically their own company, and instead of being paid on a W-4 contract, they're paid as almost like a contractor, right? So it's almost like we're paying this company for doing business with us, as opposed to paying this employee. And there's benefits and disadvantages to that. I'm certainly not an expert in this area, so definitely do your own research. Don't just take what I'm saying for it. But you got to look at things like how does that affect taxes? How does that affect medical, dental benefits, whatever it is with that organization? And it does kind of vary case by case. Again, outside of the U.S., I'm not familiar with some of their policies there, but it's definitely something that is possible. And a lot of times, whether it's an external recruiter or internal, these are things that you can kind of address throughout that hiring process too. Because just as much as an interview is for a company to get a good judge of a candidate, it's also a candidate's chance to see, is this company somewhere I want to work? Does it make sense for all these external reasons that you might have? So that's definitely something that will be case by case. It's definitely appropriate to address as well to a hiring manager or someone you're talking to from these companies, and see what their thoughts are, and if they can give you a bit more information to shed light on it as well.
No,
So I think,
oh,
I'm sorry, just to briefly add on to that. So we are an international recruitment firm. We are the satellite office in New York. Blockchain is kind of the exception, where we recruit globally for remote positions, but we don't recruit for in-person positions in like other countries other than the US. However, we do have consultants in other countries that certainly would be able to do so. So if you are interested in breaking into the blockchain space, you want to learn more about, any of the positions we kind of alluded to, we post a lot on LinkedIn. You can see that information there. We're open books. Our job is to talk to people, right? So please feel free to reach out. And, we're more than happy to talk you through and see if there's any opportunities that would make sense for you. And if we don't have them, to connect you to a consultant in our company that would have those opportunities, because we are only the blockchain people. We have, 180 other consultants that are doing other forms of technology recruitment. So I think that, if you want to, if this is a resource that will be helpful for you, we're here to help. It's our job. And I think, like a key benefit to working with external recruiters is that, part of what we do is guide the entire process from start to finish. So that we're working directly with the companies. These are clients of ours, right? Like we speak with them regularly. And, we are part of the process at every step. So when it eventually comes to the offer stage, we help negotiate the salary if necessary, right? So, we're in this for a reason. We like to do this. We like to talk to people. We like to connect people to the opportunities that make sense for them. It only benefits us for you to be happy and for you to get satisfaction in a job. So, please do feel free to reach out.
Yep. You got a question for the blockchain developer position. It says 3 years in similar space. Does that mean development in general?
Yeah, no, so I actually, ironically, I think that's why I might have posted. Basically, yes. And it can look different depending on, your background, essentially. So, obviously 3 years in a blockchain role would be fantastic, but, not everyone has that. It can be something where you've spent 3 years working in more of a cloud engineer role. So you're utilizing a lot of tools in their tech stack already, or things that their company, is currently working on, where it might be an easier transition for that type of individual. It might also be something where, for a position at a crypto company, they might not necessarily care as much about the tech stack, so about the technologies but they might care that you have experience working with, a crypto wallet or some type of, payment transaction platform, even if it's a completely different technology. It's similar in what that process looks like. So I think it can look a little bit different depending. And again, I wouldn't let a year's barrier, prevent you from applying to positions. It's something where, if you're like, hey, I can present my resume to someone and I can really, speak on why am I a good fit for this role, go for it. And blockchain and these type of positions are ones where, again, with a new market and it's really kind of up and coming with a lot of these startups and different companies, you're in a position to be able to make that kind of argument and really, showcase why you are a good fit and why you can, take on that kind of role. As well.
Before we get into the next question, we do have a question. Is what is the other recruiter's name?
Maxine?
Oh, I'm Maxine. I'll put my LinkedIn information in as well, just so you can.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right. So the next question is: so it's good to post the year spent using decentralized apps on the resume as well.
Yeah, no, and the completely honest answer is it depends, right? So if it's years, 100%. If it's something where it's like, oh, I've been using it a few weeks, you might not want to say I've only worked for 2 weeks on this or that. So there is kind of wiggle room there as well. Definitely, if it's something where hey, I spent the past year working on this, so somehow include that. It doesn't have to be something where you clearly state 1 year, decentralized apps. It could be something where in your job title for a position you've done from 2019 to 2020, you have, oh, I've worked on this, and people would kind of make that connection. It's also something where if it's relevant to the position you're applying for, it's definitely things you want to think about on your end to bring up during that interview process. So when you look at a job description online and you say, hey, they want someone with experience, in these 3 or 4 things, you might not have years and years of it, but you want to make the effort to kind of address that during that interview process as well.
I think if you have any form of blockchain industry experience, including NFTs, crypto, smart contracts, everything in between, put it on if you want a blockchain job, because it's a good way to not get kind of like outright dismissed. Because if it's something that you can talk about in an interview, just give your chance a moment to get your foot in the door. and then you can elaborate on it. I think it's definitely key to show some degree of technical knowledge. So again, I work with candidates all the time that are doing it completely. So for example, I have a candidate right now who is working at a Ford Motor Company, and he's doing nothing related to blockchain at all. But every night he's been working on, developing smart contracts and exploring Rust and, contributing to GitHub, et cetera, right? And, that to me is a candidate that I can absolutely see getting placed in, a more junior role for, in a blockchain company. So, if you're interested, if this is a space you want to break into, definitely explore that technology, right? As I said, there's no convention, right? Like the convention is being built now. And you're seeing people who are by all means unconventional. For example, a candidate who didn't even graduate high school, and he just got a job and he's making 200K, right? And that's what this industry is. So if it's something you're passionate about, it's something you want to put the time in doing, learn on your own, right? Have the technical skills, and all the time companies are like, we don't care, just give us the best person, right? Like, so I don't know. I think that's why it's an exciting industry. And if you currently have blockchain skills, that's fantastic. Reach out, and if you're still working on it, again, feel free to reach out and get some advice on next steps, or to get a better sense of what the industry is looking like. But definitely spend your time working on it, because you didn't need to go to college, or you didn't need to take classes in blockchain to be able to be a blockchain developer now.
So another question I had, this is related to the auditing side and security side of it. How often are you seeing anything like that as far as jobs go?
Fairly frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, only a few right now. I don't know about Joe. I only have a few companies right now that are more security focused for blockchain, but there are a few, certainly. And so just one of the companies, for example, the tech stack that they highlight is, ideally some experience using blockchain for security purposes, which, perfect world, everyone already knows what they have to do. But,
Right.
the key tech skills for that company is an Ethereum-based company, is Solidity and Viper for smart contracts, JavaScript, Python, either or. And, generally speaking, a lot of these ecosystems really appreciate an understanding of the ecosystem. So being familiar with their white paper, having some understanding of the code, even if you just read it, right? Even if you just seen the syntax for a smart contract in their company, that in itself is a major plus. Like when a candidate says, I've never once done any research on Ethereum, the company's gonna be like, well, why not, right? Like that should have been the thing you did. So any sort of like familiarity, interest, keeping up with the industry, keeping up with the news, those are actual like legitimate things that people would consider in addition to tech.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just wanted to point that out there
Yeah,
for those that are just not familiar. There is a aspect to security, um, to this, and the federal government is big on it. The AI, machine learning, depending on who the company is big on it when it comes to blockchain. If they're including that in their tech stack, that's super huge. Working with a company now, that's one of the things we're working on, and on top of that, how to secure the entire pipeline when it comes down to the application as well too. So that's super huge. Just want to point that out for those that are security focused and not sure where you could really fit in, to that. That's just one aspect of it. And somebody posted, just hit the floor gas, I think, when you said the 200K, and reading white papers is a must. So now, a little quick question on on your company itself, right? So if someone, with someone coming through you as a recruiter, are they working for the company that you're recruiting for, or they're still working for you and basically they're an employee of you, and then
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, great question. And so the way that works is a lot of the companies, like the clients we work with, for example, so it'll be, okay, Google needs a developer. And this is, just made up example, but so they're gonna leave it to us. So, we need, here's the skill set, here's the type of person, you have access to some of the hiring managers here if you need to speak to see, ask questions or whatever it is, find candidates. And then from our job, it's, finding candidates like yourself, whether it's LinkedIn, talking to people, using your network, going to events, and saying, hey, let's get some good people in. After speaking to them, are they someone that we think would actually be a good fit and is also interested? From there, what we do is we put them through that hiring process, the same as if you were to, put your resume right to the hiring manager at the organization. So, the process is the exact same. It's just with the advantage of working with someone that's, helping to guide it, giving you kind of pointers here and there, and kind of speeding it along because sometimes it does drag out a bit. So it's something where, at the end of the day, when you're done that process, you're an employee of that company. Nothing to do with us. We'd love to be friends on LinkedIn and, stay connected in some aspect. But at the end of the day, you're an employee of that organization and, that's where you are. There are certain instances where there will be contract roles involved. So, not as much us, but some different areas within the technical field will do contract roles where it's a 3-month, project. Some of the clients we work with, as opposed to onboarding this new person and, filling out all this paperwork and paying them as an employee, will pay us, as I think Lynn brought up, as almost, we're paying a company to company as opposed to an employer. So you're still an employee of that organization for LinkedIn and resume purposes, but in terms of how you're paid out, it does somehow go through us and then to you as opposed to directly, but only in kind of those rare contract instances.
That's only for contract roles, and it's where we would basically put you on our W-2 just for that, just based on an agreement with the company. But for all full-time salary positions, we are only connecting you with the company and kind of helping you through the hiring process to give you a leg up. You are fully an employee of the company. Also, for the record, the company is the one that pays us. Sometimes people ask, it's not like that. There's no fees or anything like that. We have clients, and those clients are our companies, and we are working for them to, they're outsourcing to find more highly specialized individuals that are otherwise very difficult to find. So,
yeah.
Calling from Legacy Medical Group, Dr. Dunn's office. This message is for Michelle. People please give me a call back at 503-413-8988.
We gotta put you on mute.
This is regarding a medication refill request.
Yeah. Michelle, I don't know what happened there. We had to put you on mute. All right. So another question is, let me go back to active cameras here. Another question I actually had was in terms of this is not to compare you to Amazon, but to give you an idea of what I'm asking. So like with Amazon, the recruiter call you and they'll walk you through this process and they say, hey, you must use the STAR method to get through the interview questions and so forth and so on. What kind of expertise or what type of, I guess, process when you're going through the interview process, how are you helping the candidate out, if any at all? Are you saying, hey, go read a book, good luck, let us know if you need to contact about anything, wish you luck?
Yeah, no, and again, it depends on what that candidate wants, because it's something where, you can do so much where it becomes overbearing and it's like, all right, like I can handle getting the job on my own. But it's definitely, we are a resource. So if it's someone where we come to them or they come to us and they're like, hey, really interested in this, they have a great attitude, they're like, I don't know, does my resume look good? Give them a few pointers here or there. If it's something they need help, given that, we have time to kind of take on some of those things, definitely help in that area. And as a third party middleman, essentially, we're able to do a lot in terms of, walking them through that interview process. So while we are a third party, we work really closely with these companies, like our clients and these hiring managers, and get to know them really on a personal level. So it's something where, if we know, okay, we've talked to them for weeks and weeks, they're really big on this, or, they're a New York Knicks fan, or, we might give you a tip or so here, bring this up in the interview, or, to give you kind of a leg up. And again, at the end of the day, our job is to, help the candidate get an awesome job, but also help our clients and help these companies bring in the best candidates possible. So, whatever we can do to help that process along and, for everyone to be happy at the end of the day is definitely, what we'll try to do.
We typically will provide extensive interview material. So, we are, as I was saying, there are clients. So we are working, very closely with these hiring managers. It's really frequent video calls. It's job specs, like all the time on LinkedIn, it'll say, oh, we need these 7 skills, right? And then you talk to the hiring manager, and part of our job is to be like, so which ones do you actually need?
Yep.
Right? If we send you someone that has skill A and doesn't know skill B, is that okay? And a lot of times we'll be like, oh yeah, that person's perfect, right? So, we have an insight that the job application cannot provide, which is why it's such a harmonious industry, right? So, so the way we do it is that we provide interview materials, we provide news on the company, we provide the key things they're going to ask you. This is obviously not offered to people who just apply directly, just because there is a lack of, that's not an additional resource that you're provided. We will, give company information. We'll send the LinkedIn of the hiring managers. If I have one, I'll always try to include a fun fact at the end. Other key things like what schools they went to, their hobbies, those kinds of things. We try to get that information because, we're trying to make this process as helpful as possible. There's no reason for someone to not get hired be because they, came in thinking they were going to interview for a JavaScript role, and it turns out to actually be more of a Solidity role, right? That's ridiculous. So, yeah. For the record, we are certainly here to help. We will certainly provide interview materials.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good follow-up to, I think, Lynn's question, too. So, she asked, would we tell a candidate they're underqualified, or would we, just send them into a position? And, we absolutely would. Very nicely, of course. It's not something where we're going to make you feel like you don't have the skills that are needed, but it's something where, at the end of the day, just as much as we work, for the candidate and help you get a good job, we work for the companies as well. And it's something where we don't want to just send them someone just to send them someone. It's something where you really want to send them the right person. And it's also, again, in our job where we work with multiple companies and across different industries, it puts us in a cool opportunity where, if we get someone that has a really good attitude, has a good skill set, but it might not be quite right for this one particular position, there's usually a company in our network where that we can, get in touch with that maybe it is a really good fit. So, I mean, great question, and definitely something that we, take very serious to make sure it is, the right fit for all parties there as well.
On that note, if it turns out that there's, we don't have a role right now for you, right? Like if it just so happens that we can't offer you, any assistance currently, the way that we do things is that we have an internal computer system that we use to be able to stay in touch with candidates. So what we can always do, and what I always offer to candidates, and they always say yes, please, is, we'll put them in the system. So when a person does have the right role, they have a very easy way of searching up that candidate once again and reaching out to them and saying, hi, like I have a role, it sounds like you might be a good fit, let's talk. So, even if there isn't something right now for you, there very well could be in the future, and based on this industry's trajectory, it's only going, the opportunities are only going to increase. So there's a bit of a kind of like a networking component where once you're kind of in our network, we're able to find you again and get in touch with you for the right situation. And yes, it does slow.
Yeah.
They say that November is the worst month. So happy November, everyone. Definitely something to consider. Companies want to hire, it's just people tend to not want to leave their jobs.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, we'll see about this time of year, companies will say, hey, look, we're getting ready for 2022. So, if there is hiring needs that need to be addressed, they're not necessarily super urgent. It's something where, they might get pushed to quarter 1 and it helps a little bit with the budget for the year, and, their finance team is happy. So it definitely does slow a bit. But, hiring does still happen for certain positions year round. Just kind of depends there.
And
Sorry.
no, I think you had. I think this was asked, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway again. I know you can't give the companies, but what industries are you primarily working with? Are you working federal, airlines, healthcare? Um, like what is
Yeah, no,
what are you normally working
yeah.
with?
So with us working in blockchain, it's sometimes different. So it's a lot of, different fintech organizations. It's crypto. It's, software development companies where they'll specifically work on, a decentralized process that they'll then, sell to other companies to use on an Ethereum network or whatever. So I don't know exactly where they would fit in terms of industry. There will be some healthcare, financial services, kind of you name it. In terms of
Gaming.
yeah, gaming is huge with NFTs right now.
Music. Also big.
Yeah, so it's a good mix. Again, a lot of the larger companies we work with are, more crypto, more financial services, where you see big use for the technology. But again, that's us personally. We do the blockchain, but you think, DevOps or some of the other areas some of our colleagues work in, it gets very diverse. We have an entire life sciences team for people, work if you want to go to like the Johnsons and Johnsons and Pfizer's of the world and go, software jobs at a company like that. So it's, it might just be us in one area, but the opportunity's there. And, both of us are resources where if you'd like to hear about that or, get in touch with someone that has information about an industry you're interested in, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I'll do my best to kind of get you in touch with the right person there as well.
Got you. On the blockchain side, are you working with anyone in logistics?
In logistics, like, like management logistics.
Just logistics, as far as an application. They may be building out an application. They may be using blockchain or supply chain for food. It could
Oh,
be,
I understand.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Are we?
Currently, maybe, to be honest.
We're working on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think someone asked, like, how many jobs do you work in at one time? And it's hard because it's like a ton, to be honest. And the benefit of an external recruitment agency, right, is at a company like an Amazon, you might have a software engineer, a DevOps engineer, a cloud engineer, a blockchain engineer. All these positions are open at the same time. So they're finding multiple people in different skill sets, trying to find 5 or 6 people to interview at each of these positions, that their resumes look very different. Whereas us, we might work for 50, 100 companies, whatever it is, but the candidates we're working with are a similar skill set, meaning, it's a similar engineer, similar tech stack. It's someone that kind of fits this mold where, they may be a good fit for 10 of these, 100 companies or whatever it is. So, it kind of varies there as well.
The long story short is a lot. Kind of keeping cards to our chest a little bit on that one, but there are so many roles right now. And as I said earlier, there is a very candidate-driven industry. So we are, sometimes our colleagues have a million candidates that are amazing and no jobs to put them in. We are kind of in the opposite position where we have a million jobs and very few candidates because of how, new the industry is. So
yeah,
there's a lot of opportunities.
And that being said, too, a lot of the positions, unfortunately, are going to be more senior positions. So, when you start talking these really high salaries, some of the roles we're filling, they're not going to pay someone $2-3 million to be more on the junior side of things. So it is candidate driven, but it's still at that more entry, more junior level. It is still a good mix there. So it's something that there are definitely openings and a lot of opportunities.
So what you're saying is, if you're making $700 to $1 million, you're slumming. If you're coming in at the 2 million, that's what I'm hearing.
I have half a mind to learn Rust myself.
Yeah, we joke around about it every day. We're like, we're going back. We're taking all the boot camps. But
yeah, there's opportunities at every level. just to be
And
perfect.
what is considered senior, since it's so new right now, right? Is senior considered a year or 2 years, or is that 3 or 5?
It looks very different depending on the individual. And, from my experience, it's, sometimes it's someone that has 15 years of experience, 10 years of experience as, a software engineer, and then they've recently, the past 3 or 4 years, moved into more of a blockchain position. So there's someone that has, a career's worth of a resume, a portfolio, in addition to, a few years that are relevant to this market, but they're coming with, the leadership skills that are necessary. Sometimes you'll get people who are very highly educated. So you get the, MIT, PhD in comp sci or whatever it is, masters. And, while they might have only worked as, a software engineer for 2 years and then 3 years in a blockchain type role, there's someone where, okay, this high level of education, this, relevant work, great resume, in addition to maybe they have a few side projects, will be a fit for those senior positions. But again, it's almost case by case.
I honestly, I would agree with that. It is really case by case. But it really comes down to the technical test, to be honest. If someone, it really, that's kind of the answer to it.
I agree. I was just wondering.
Don't not apply is the thing. Like, as I said, this hiring manager I'm working with, blockchain lead, he's hiring for his team, Rust developer, C++, if you're one of them. The base salary, not even including equity, is 300K. They're looking for a really good Rust developer, but the person who's going to be their boss has been in the industry for 9 months. So, whoever that candidate is, I don't really know.
Yeah, and different companies will value different things differently. So sometimes it's, they really care about the culture fit at a certain place, meaning they want someone who's, awesome. Like everyone loves them. They're building up this team. They're here for the next 10 years. Some people, they want a real strong technical skill set to work on this project. You don't even have to be a people's person. And each company will have different values. And I think, as a lot of you are, where when you're looking for a job, I think those are things that are important to consider, like where your value aligns with that organization. Salary is important, but it's not everything. You don't want to show up or be remote or do this work every single day if you don't, like the people you're with, you like the environment, you like what the company does and stands for. So, when you see job descriptions and they have, okay, you need this, this, and this, yes, have the skill set, but take it with a grain of salt in the sense of, if you're the right fit for that role and you can showcase that, you'll make the most of it.
Now, one of the questions was, do you see a lot of mobile jobs in the blockchain space? And I'm assuming mobile, you're talking phone mobile, not moving around.
Yeah, no, I mean, for phone, mobile, 100%. The platforms you work on, it'll be similar where it is everywhere else. So, you get mobile applications, web applications, you name it. It's a huge mix. And again, as blockchain as a technology is being integrated more and more at these, giant companies, you're seeing it be used in different ways and in different applications. So I hope that kind of sums it up, but really the sky's the limit there. So.
Someone asked, what's the attrition? I guess the attrition rate looks like in that space.
I'm assuming you're referring to how people stay in a role, or are you talking about the whole industry?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. People jumping, moving around.
You get a lot of jumping, and let me tell you something. It's constantly a push and pull, because the people who knew blockchain like 5 years ago were like, the people who were way ahead of their time, right? Like, they knew how to follow the money. So you see a lot of people who did like 3-month contracts here or there. However, hiring managers can sometimes get prickly about that, because there is that kind of like gold standard of having someone who's been in a position long enough to kind of indicate that they will stay in this position for a long time. So if you have a jumpy resume, there's certainly an opportunity, because a lot of hiring managers do understand what the industry looked like before now, and that a lot of these people had to follow the money. And a lot of following the money was contract roles that are much more jumpy. But hiring managers do really prefer people who intend to stay there for a long time. So, I don't know if that's new.
Yeah, no, and again, I think, the standard is if you're at a company for, a year, 2, 3 years, that's, okay, this is someone where if we take on, we feel comfortable that they're going to be here long term. But in this space, it is different, where, people that were a junior developer 4 years ago are now CTOs somewhere because they were ahead of the curve. And I think, if you have a resume that, maybe you moved around a bit where you did contract work, especially where it's easily explained. It's like, oh, well, my niche set of skills is in this area, and these 3 contracts, I made good money this year, got a lot of experience, and, was able to move around, try different things. I want to come to your company because X, Y, Z. This is what, draws me to here as my next step. And I think, if you have a valid reason for that, it's definitely okay. In terms of, people in the industry actively jumping around, it's definitely not encouraged, but it's definitely not discouraged. It's something where, of course, if you put your dues in essentially and, spent, 3 years or 2, 3 years, whatever it is at a company, and you're offered this just, life-changing amount of money and with a salary and a position, I think it's understandable. Of course, companies would like to retain their employees long term, and that's always the goal on our end where, it's finding a home, and hopefully a lot of these roles where, you may start as a junior developer, but it's a company that's experiencing a lot of growth. Whereas this market grows, is this a company or position where you can grow with the organization? And I think there is a lot of opportunity there as well, where, as that company grows, you can move up throughout the ranks and, get a nice salary increase and bonus as well. So, it doesn't look the same for every person. And I think it's really just being able to, highlight why you did things you did and, this is my story and run with it. And I think people really, hiring managers, recruiters, everyone alike really appreciates that honesty and appreciates the fact that, you're a person at the end of the day and not everyone's path is, the exact same there.
Honesty is a really good policy. I know that's like, age-old truth, but especially in this industry because so many hiring managers are oftentimes getting resumes that are a little bit like, exaggerating to your skill set. Honesty is really genuinely the best policy because I've had hiring managers be like, look, they seem great, but why did they lie about that job, right? And it really leaves a bad taste in their mouth. So, I don't know.
Which gets into another question is like, so testing, like, do you all test your candidates or have a platform to test the candidates, or you just leave that to the people that you're working with, excuse me, to do the testing?
Yeah, so it's different depending on the company. A lot of time the technical test will be done on their side. So it's something that we'll usually know ahead of time what that test might look like. So, the topics or questions that might be asked. Sometimes in doing our candidate search, I know probably both of us do it, where you do ask some technical questions, not super in depth, but to kind of gauge where someone is at, what their ability looks like, just to see, we don't want to send someone into an opportunity where they're going to feel like, oh, I just did terrible. You want to send someone into an opportunity where they, have a really good chance to succeed. So, we definitely do a bit, but, the long technical test will be kind of with the organization directly, usually with, one of the hiring managers or someone there. We still have
for that next question, I guess, so obviously shorter notice is always preferable, right? Just as having no non-compete is always preferable. But, a lot of these companies have a very long hiring process. I have a number of companies that I've been recruiting for multiple months now, and we still haven't found the right person. So, and, they're still looking to, right? Like, we're still looking to fill this position. So, I think one thing is that if you're at a current role, if you can actually provide a day that you will be free and if, the position will be extended, that's a really good thing. If you're in a situation where it's a project and you're not actually sure when it's going to end, be transparent about that, but just understand that that's going to be, a little bit difficult for companies to work with. And, one rule of thumb is that, there's nothing wrong with being in a role currently because that can, if anything, kind of support your case a little bit. If you're interested in making the move, and it can kind of give you more things to compare, because a lot of these companies, they like answers like, I'm not doing enough for this job. I want to do something a little more interesting. I'm being underutilized in this job. I want to be utilized better. This job isn't going anywhere. I want to take the leap. Those are the kind of language cues that companies really like. So, indicating passion is a huge one. Not really sure if that's the same for all software development, to be honest, but passion is a big one for blockchain. So yeah, so having a job right now is not a bad thing at all, and it's also fine if you don't have a job right now.
I'm reading kind of what you wrote, and I think it's all how you explain it, and is it genuine? So I think it's something where you're like, hey, I wouldn't necessarily leave a job opportunistically, can't speak, that one will just happen to be perfect a month later. So it's definitely something where, if you want to specifically spend a few weeks brushing up before starting a new position, it might be, hey, I want to start up, but I need a 3-week notice as opposed to, 2-week or whatever is the typical. Depending on the position, it's something that they're willing to work with. Not all the time. I don't want to, set that as the precedent, but it's something where it's definitely doable. But it's also something where, if you're like, I don't like my current job, I want to brush up on my skill sets, and then look for new opportunities. It's definitely something that wouldn't be viewed negatively as long as, there's a logical explanation for why you went in that direction, or what you're following what you want to do there.
I typically give 3 weeks, and the only reason why I give 3 weeks, I just my own thing. 2 weeks for the company, and then a week to myself before I roll into
Of course,
something else. And if I wanted to go on a trip, like a 2 or 3 day getaway or something like that, I could still do that. Or if I just wanted to lay around and sleep, I could do that. Or if I just don't want to do anything at all, but just walk or whatever, you have that option. So that gives you a little bit more power. And I know some people are, worried about the paycheck, but you know, I understand. So just give yourself the grace, if you're talking about that. You did have another question from Dion, and it's going. I know you all got to get out of here. I thank you for holding it down for this long. What about having offers web? What about having offers Web 2 offers not in the role yet, but one is set on going to Web 3 because of passion?
So meaning like you have a current job offer, but might hold out for another opportunity. Again, I don't want to give super specific advice because it's different case by case. If that's realistic, to pick up another position, it's something where I would use personal judgment what feels right there. If it's something financially you're comfortable holding out and waiting for an opportunity to come, I think that would be fine in terms of being able to explain, given that it's a realistic amount of time where you're not just spending years, out of the industry. But it's also something too where there's no, even for the perfect candidates, sometimes you'll see there's not a role that's perfect for them. So it's something where sometimes people have to take an opportunity just to, build experience while they wait for that perfect one to come along. And again, use your best discretion there and then what makes sense for you individually. Again, it's not something that there's like a formula or a perfect way to kind of go about that type of situation there.
Cool. And I thank you all for your time. Let me also start the recording. Before we start the recording, I know you put your information inside of the chat. Let me scroll up here and make sure that everyone has it. I know you put it in there, Maxine, earlier, and Joe earlier. Is there LinkedIn is the best way to get in contact with you all, and maybe going to the website as well too?
Yeah, so I mean, LinkedIn's probably the best. To be honest, yeah, for the emails. I mean, to be honest, LinkedIn's the easiest. Just shoot me a friend request. I'll be on tonight. We're on LinkedIn all the time. I'll add you back. Don't waste doing emails or anything like that. And have a conversation. We have our phone numbers. I'm going to be honest. I don't remember my own phone number because it's conveniently on my phone. Feel free if you want to get in touch. I'll give you all that information. We'll definitely connect. But it's something too where I understand people that are looking for spell check. But people are looking for different, levels of experience. It's definitely something where, I'm willing to talk some people through if they're looking for a specific opportunity. Definitely feel free to reach out as well. And if it's not us, there's usually someone in our office that can help you out there as well.
All right. I think I got it. We're gonna last name.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so it's emails, Maxine's number. So yeah.
I can always connect you to Joe. I can transfer you over if you're trying to get in touch with him. So
Yeah, no
feel free
worries.
to call him. I'll get you over him.
Right.
But yeah,
So
no, feel free to reach out.
you got your contact info. I'm gonna do a quick recap. We have your contact info. The experience is really based upon you and what value add you're bringing to the position, and it's also position dependent. If you don't have 10 years of experience, that is okay. Um, Also, you never know what can happen unless you apply. And you're looking for primarily blockchain, Rust, and pick Polkadot, whatever the case may be. Read the white papers and as well understand the technology stack of that particular company that you're working with, and also whether a good idea on how to walk through and do interviews as well too for that particular company. Is there anything that I'm missing on that as a summary?
No, and I mean, again, like, even if it's something where you don't have the skill set right now, part of our job is to make sure that there's a lot of good technical talent out there. So it's something where, we'll definitely take the time and say, hey, like, I want to get into this type of career. What do I need my resume to look like? Spend a few minutes kind of giving you advice there. And, I'll talk to Tamika offline. We can try to see if we can maybe do something that help with resume side of things as well. Might be a cool opportunity for, myself, Maxine, and some of our colleagues in different areas as well to maybe really do something there. That's something our office is really been trying to get started up. So might be cool to work with as well.
Oh, another thing that might be useful is something we just started. So anyone's welcome to come and kind of like pitch their own stuff and projects and whatnot. We just created a LinkedIn blockchain group. It's open to everyone. There's nothing exclusive about it. And it's just a way for people to be able to kind of like advertise themselves, have discourse on the industry, pitch their own projects, try to connect with other like-minded people. It's really for everyone. There's nothing, it's not a formal type of thing. It's just a resource for people to, like get more in touch with the blockchain industry. Also conveniently, a lot of my colleagues will be posting jobs in there. So it's just an additional resource for you to find jobs. But yeah, feel free to post it, feel free to use it, feel free to do whatever you want. It's yours.
Yeah, it's also a cool avenue for other companies. There's CTOs, CEOs. I think there's a COO that just joined recently. It's been up for like a few days, and there's been a lot of traction there, which has been cool. But the idea of that space and that group on LinkedIn will be ask questions. I worked on this cool NFT project. Throw it up for people to see. Whatever that makes sense for that as well. But definitely, an additional resource if you would like to check out that avenue.
I know a lot of LinkedIn groups that don't advertise your own stuff. Please advertise your own stuff. Truly, no rules. If you want to advertise your own LinkedIn group in the group, go ahead.
All we ask is be respectful of other people and be open to other views and other projects people are working on. But other than that, it's a creative space to kind of share and network essentially as well.
And FYI to everyone, if you want to save the chat, you can just right click and hit save, and it'll download and save the chat for you. That way you don't have to try to remember all the links. It'll put it into a text file for you and save it to your desktop. So I just want you to have that. And Joe, Maxine, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
I hope we didn't keep you all waiting too long. We just
don't worry.
we had people, was coming on. We also had another recruiter. He didn't. It's not a clock, D. He he didn't get a chance to come tonight, so we'll have him come on another night. It's actually two other recruiters that we actually having coming on to talk about jobs, not just in DevSecOps and blockchain, but cybersecurity, hacking, penetration testing, and as well as we did the investment this weekend. We did investment funds this weekend. Talking about how to create your own funds, becoming a accredited investor. So we got more stuff coming. So yeah, we'd love to have you back in terms of getting resumes together, especially for blockchain resumes, like an overview of that. Maybe even just a skim down template so people can get ready for that. And then when they get in, you all can do a deep dive or whatever, however you see fit on that. But just a skimmed version that'll probably get you ahead of the game versus having somebody come in and saying, "Hey, here's my resume. What format should it be in? Here's a template. Come with that, and then we'll pick you up from there." So I wanted to make sure I say that. D, do you have anything else to add? She's on mute. I don't think she can get off. I don't know. She having trouble with her computer. She can't come off mute. There you go. And she's back on mute.
No, I am trying to kill the FaceTime. But no, thank you so much for coming and waiting for us. It was a great information session. Everybody had a lot of great questions. I'm looking forward to the resume session as well. And so you guys are welcome back anytime.
All right, thank you, and I appreciate you all, and we're still gonna go. I just want to make sure everybody's okay after the chat. You're more than welcome to come back or what have you, and let us know if there's anything that we could do for you as well too, because it's all about building a community and building a partnership, and so we're also open to whatever help we can lend you, and so let us know.
Absolutely. Look, we're again, it's our job. It's our job to get people jobs. So
Yeah, that's how I
we're
feel.
here for you. We're 100% here for you.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I'm like, hey, let's make this money. Let's make these jobs.
Exactly.
I don't know. People are like, yo, we're not, I'm not interested in the money and making it. I was like, okay, we'll do it for free.
Exactly.
Do it for free.
Exactly.
All
If
right.
only.
All right. You all take care, and we'll catch you on our next run. Hopefully sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Have a good
great.
evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right. All right. All right. Let me stop recording.